Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Intuitive Living with Suzanne. Today begins a 4-part podcast series that we're doing on the archetypes. Okay, so what exactly are archetypes and why are they important? Archetypes are universal symbolic patterns that are used to explain the nature of the world around us. The archetypal characters allow us to see patterns and predictability in our own lives so that we might understand ourselves and the world around us a little better. This is Suzanne Arjona, and you're listening to Intuitive Living with Suzanne, where we are tuning in to our inner voices and taking life to the next level. So, archetypes show up as characters, typically, like the hero, the explorer, or the wise sage. They can also show up as stories, like the hero's journey, or the rags to riches story, or themes of overcoming the monsters. Okay, you'll see these story archetypes repeated over and over again in popular literature and movies. So while there are many character archetypes, there are 4 common ones that frequently show up for most people: the saboteur, the victim, the child, and the prostitute. Now, none of these are good or bad. They're all neutral, and they can all help us reflect on our self-image and how we might show up in the world. Each archetype has both a shadow and a light side, and I'll be addressing each of the 4 in separate podcast episodes. So today, we're going to talk about the saboteur. Now, the shadow side of the saboteur is what tends to show up for us. And it will show up when we're scared or have self-doubt or lack self-esteem. So your particular experience of how the saboteur shows up in your life is conditioned by beliefs that you aren't good enough, or that you can't do or be something due to whatever, fill in the blank. Your social status, your age, your race, your gender, all of that. The saboteur whispers in your ear, "You're not worthy," or "You're not ready," or "You're a fake." This is the shadow saboteur undermining you and others, and frequently leads to self-destructive behavior. Okay? So how do we put the saboteur in its place and keep it from distracting us? Well, there's a few things you can do. You can be aware of negative self-talk. You can be aware of and learn from your past mistakes. And you can learn to recognize your own self-imposed limitations. Now, this awareness and recognition opens us up to the light attribute of the saboteur archetype, the understanding of the fear of self-empowerment. The light side of the saboteur is where we find our personal power to do or be whatever we want, to achieve our goals and live out our dreams. We notice the shadow, that negative self-talk, often called self-sabotage appropriately, and understand that it's just a fear of our own inner power, a fear of success in a manner of speaking. We can then face that fear and move into our power. So the changes that we make for the better in our lives to avoid the chaos of the saboteur are the light side of this archetype showing up. So the way we recognize when we're about to come into our power or make a big positive change in our life, listen for that little voice that says, "You're not good enough," or "What makes you think you can do that?" That voice of self-doubt lurking in the background is that saboteur trying to throw you off track. That's when you know you're about to embark on something big, maybe something a little uncomfortable, but potentially life-changing. And that's when you need to tell that little voice to sit down and shut up because you have work to do. Okay? So if you'd like to further explore how to use the lessons of the archetypes to move through life's roadblocks, or tap into how your inner saboteur is blocking your progress, schedule a free call with me today. There's a link in the podcast notes, as well as on my website at www.thelifewalk.com. In the meantime, feel free to share this podcast with friends and colleagues. I do appreciate all of you helping me share these messages about taking your life to the next level. So thank you again for tuning in, and until next episode, I wish you all the brightest blessings.